Journey to the Heart. Uma hung bara guru pama siddhi hung, mani pami hung. A Buddhist chant. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. A Catholic petition. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. A non-denominational prayer. People have many ways of seeking and finding peace. Mantras, chants, or prayers that align the mind with the river of peace that runs through our universe are one way of returning to our center. Take a moment now. Connect with peace. Uma hung bara guru pama siddhi hung, mani pami hung. The assignment seemed simple enough. Write a meditation book. Yet I was stuck. After weeks of wrestling with trying to write the book, I finally got the message. Meditation takes us to a different place. Places of peace, power, and healing. That's where I would go. I would drive to sacred, healing, spiritual places around the country, absorb the energy from these meccas, and let it infuse me and my writing. I would begin with no set plan, just my intuition, some vague notions of where I was going, and faith that the journey would unfold. I would take the trip of my life. It would become a living metaphor for the sacred journey we have each undertaken, the journey of a lifetime on this planet. This meditation tape is the story of that adventure. Come with me now as we travel to the mystical healing vortexes of Sedona, the ancient ruins of Chaco Canyon, the enchanted forests of the Pacific Northwest. Pack your bags. Take along some humility and the lessons of the past. Toss in some curiosity about what you haven't yet learned. Don't worry about who you'll meet or where you'll go. Join me on the journey to the heart. Beginnings can start almost invisibly or arrive with a big bang. They hold the promise of new territory to be explored and old lessons to be recalled, practiced, and appreciated. Beginnings hold ambiguity, promise, fear, and hope. Don't let the lessons, the experiences of the past, dampen your enthusiasm for beginnings. Don't let the heartbreaks of the past cause you to become cynical, close you off to life's magic and promise. Open yourself wide to all that the universe has to say. A new journey has begun. Let it be magical. Let it unfold. All parts of the journey are sacred and holy. Whether you're embarking on a new year, a new project, or a new relationship, take time to honor the beginning. I sat in the soaking pool at the lodge at Desert Hot Springs, my first stop on this trip. I felt annoyed by the chatter of the man across from me. This is a soaking pool, I thought irritably. He's supposed to be relaxing, not chattering incessantly. Then I noticed myself, tense, sitting on the edge of the underwater rock, watching and judging others and ready to leap up and run to my room. Ah, I remembered. The universe works with mirrors. I'm seeing myself. It was time to remember how to slow down, relax. Nothing else in the universe frets about being late, a friend told me once. Does the moon ask itself if it's where it should be? Does the sun say, I must hurry else I'll be late? Stare up into the sky on a moonlit night. Feel the quiet, timeless rhythm of the planets, the moon, the stars, the universe. Know that you're connected. tuned into a rhythm deeper and more secure than all your wondering could imagine. Breathe deeply. Relax. Let your pace spring from knowing that inside your heart. Trust the rhythm of the universe. You're right where you need to be. You'll get where you need to go. You have all the time you need. Find something that's relaxing, healing, soothing, and available to you. Sit in the sun. Sit in the tub. Take a trip to a nearby hot spring or mineral bath in your state. Take time to do activities that bring you pleasure. If you've been soaking up too much stress, give yourself a break. Let your body start soaking up some healing energy too. I sat in my lodge room. It was my last evening at Desert Hot Springs. It was time to find the next place. I turned on my computer and started searching my travel program, trying to plan each detail of the entire trip. In a few hours, I had a mess of papers on the floor and a worse mess in my head. The more I tried to plan the entire trip, the more confused I became. Go back to your heart. When you're confused, uncertain, unclear, go back to a place you can trust, your heart. Don't complicate things. The answer, the solution, the guidance is there. Don't think so hard, a wise old man gently instructed me once. You're hurting your head and your thinking isn't becoming clear. Relax. Stop trying so hard. Open your heart. Then your thinking will clear. The mind, he reminded me, is connected to the heart. Are you beginning to see how your head gets in the way? How it creates so much noise? The chatter, the limited vision, the fear? Are you beginning to see how what you've relied on, your intellect, your assessments, and sometimes your logic, has complicated your life? For so long you relied on your head. Now it's time to make the shift, the great leap into your heart. It isn't the head that sees clearly, nor does the head always see with love. Often it sees with eyes of fear. It leaves no room for the mysterious workings of the universe. The heart sees clearly. It balances the mind and emotions. It takes what's real and processes it into truth, then action. It takes into account all that needs to be done, then draws a map for how to accomplish that. Yes, you say, but my head does that too, and then I don't need to feel. Your heart can do it better because it maps the way in love. Your inner voice is the guidance of your heart. Cultivate the art of listening to it. I couldn't see the whole journey, but I knew one thing, where I wanted to go next. Sedona, Arizona. I had a vision of myself nestled in a cozy cabin with a fireplace. When I arrived in Sedona, it was late, after 10 o'clock. Motel offices were closed everywhere I went. The signs flashed, "No vacancy." I hung around the convenience store for a while, trying to figure out what to do, having serious second thoughts about spontaneity and trusting the universe. I was too tired to drive much further, and I no longer cared if my journey was magical. It was back to basics. I wanted to sleep in a bed that night. I bought the daily paper and spotted an ad for a lodge. I called that number, but all I heard was an answering machine. I got in my car, wondering what to do. On the edge of town, I saw a motel with lights on in the office and a real person behind the desk. I went inside and pestered the girl behind the desk for help in locating a room. At first, she insisted there was nowhere to stay. Then, finally, she relented, telling me of a little-known hotel about an hour away. She lived close by it, she said. I could follow her there. An hour later, I gratefully checked into a room. I couldn't find the thermostat or the heat, but I did have a bed. The next morning, I looked out my window. I was planted on the edge of a dry, dusty golf course. The area was surrounded by low, barren hills, barely covered with shrubs. This is not what I envisioned, I thought. I headed the car back toward Sedona, still tired, wondering what I was doing here. I drove for a while, then rounded a curve. Suddenly, I was surrounded by spiraling red mesas, shaped by nature into forms of bells, cathedrals, and carved towers reaching to the sky. The morning sunlight danced on the rusty red sculptures, lighting them with an orange-yellow glow. I smiled at the breathtaking view, grateful the experience had unfolded as it had. Sometimes the darkness and loneliness of night make the color and beauty of the sunrise and the new day all that much more beautiful. Contrast is an important part of creativity. Our Creator knows that. Somewhere deep inside, so do we. Things look different in the morning. Trust that the morning will come. I stopped at a phone booth and called the lodge I had seen advertised in the paper. Yes, they had a room. Come right over. When I saw my room, I smiled to myself. It was exactly the room I had envisioned. I checked in, eager to begin work. I told the woman behind the desk, Mary Ann, a delightful soul with brown hair, brown eyes, a warm smile, and an open heart, why I was there. To work, to earnestly begin writing. She looked at me thoughtfully. Maybe you will, she said, but that's not why you're really here. You came here to cleanse the past and heal your broken heart. Many of us show up at a place in our lives with a particular agenda. We think we're there to get the job done, build a relationship, accomplish a task. Then life takes a twist, one we didn't expect. We discover the real reason we're there is to cleanse the past. We walk around with old wounds, old hurts, remnants of other times in our lives. Now is a time of cleansing. Let life take you back to your past long enough to heal. As we go through our daily experiences, circumstances will trigger this healing. Someone says something that makes us feel angry or afraid, which triggers a feeling similar to one we repressed years ago. Or a conversation causes us to remember something that hurt us long ago, and our body begins to release the pain of that old emotion. Let yourself feel your past. You don't have to do anything about your feelings. Simply feel whatever you need to feel. Then let your feelings go. Release the emotional energy. Soon you'll know what to do next. You will naturally take the action that's right for you. Take time each day to recognize what you think and what you feel. Whether you write your thoughts in a journal or take a few moments throughout the day to bring your deepest secrets to consciousness, you need to be clear, straight, and honest with yourself. Mary Ann laughed so much she made me giggle. Are you this happy all the time? I asked her. My heart is open and healed, she said. I laugh a lot, but I cry a lot too. An open heart feels all it needs to feel. We need to give ourselves permission to feel all our emotions, including anger. Anger can be a guide. Used creatively, it can help us decide where to go and where not to go. Unresolved anger can turn into resentments. Some say resentments only hurt ourselves. I don't believe that's true. I believe resentments can hurt others too. Even if we don't speak our resentments aloud, even if we try to hide the way we feel, the energy is there in the air, hurting everyone around. Just as we focus on clearing the air we breathe of toxins, we need to cleanse the air around us from the toxic fumes of resentment. As we go through our days, we meet many people. We learn it's safe to be vulnerable with some, not so safe or wise with others. Be as vulnerable as you safely can with those you meet along the way, but always be vulnerable with yourself. Become angry if that's what you feel. Feel your rage if it's there. Go numb once in a while if you must. Then take a chance and go a little deeper. Go way down deep inside. Say how you really feel. Try being absolutely honest with yourself. It's a different kind of power, the power of opening the heart. Finish your business with people. The tangled cords that bind us to the past are easy to find. All we need to do is become quiet and listen. Who are the people we aren't at peace with? Tie up your loose ends. Then you'll be free to move on in peace. Don't wait for things to change. By understanding and honoring the growth process, the change we're waiting for will come from within us. If we feel an emotion, an old, stuck, hardened chunk of emotion, or a new one that arises along the way, we can release it and the belief attached to it. Beliefs like, I'm unlovable, life has to be hard, I deserve to be punished. A new lesson then emerges. Soon we come to a new conclusion about ourselves, about life. I am lovable. I am creatively feeling what God and the universe have to offer me. I'm free. I am. I can bring my full essence and energy before the world. The change we've been waiting for happens, but it happens as a result of our own evolutionary process, not because we waited for something or someone outside ourselves to change. You no longer have to wait for something to happen. Something is happening right now within you. Learn to heal yourself. You'll like it here, Marianne said when I arrived in Sedona. You'll find the healing you need. Where should I look? I asked. Where should I go? There is no map for that, she replied gently. You'll find your own places. You'll be drawn to what you need. Learn to find places of healing. Learn to find people, places, events, and rituals that work for you, that nourish your soul. Don't worry about how to find them or wait for someone to point them out. They'll call to you, or you'll call them into your life. Cherish old favorite spaces and open yourself to discovering new places. Healing doesn't have to be extravagant, expensive, or traditional. Sometimes it just means going to the places that make us feel good. Take time for what soothes your body, your mind, your soul. Seek healing, a refilling of energy and spirit, as soon as you see that you need it. Trust yourself to know what's right for you. I spent much of my time in Sedona clearing away old memories of pain and resentment. As I sat on the back porch of my cabin listening to the haunting melody of a flute fill the air, I noticed that the world felt more alive. I felt more alive. My heart was beginning to open. Let your heart open, gently, safely, surely, and certainly. Don't let others decide when or even if you'll open your heart, when or if you'll embrace love. Those choices are too big, too important to let others make for you. Only you can decide when and how. Opening your heart isn't something we do once or twice. It's a way of life. We'll no longer become stuck or trapped if we open our heart. We can leave if we want to. We can say what we need to. A woman I met in Sedona, a healer, gave me a visualization to use. In front of your heart, see a beautiful rosebud. Whenever you want your heart to open, picture the rose blooming wide, beautiful, and fragrant. When you want to retreat, turn the rose back into a bud. Open your heart as often as you can, as much as you can. Share it with the world. My time in Sedona was drawing to a close. On one of my last nights there, Marianne invited me to attend a Native American sweat lodge, a ritual that symbolizes cleansing the past. I sat in the tent participating as best I could in the ceremony of prayer and singing. From time to time, the firekeeper opened the tent flap and brought glowing hot rocks in from the fire burning outside. We thanked the spirit of the east, the west, the south, the north, honoring the powers of thought, emotion, passion, and earth, the physical. At the end of the evening, the shaman thanked the rocks for glowing with heat and bringing their passion to the evening. She thanked the wood, the trees that created the fire that heated the rocks, for giving their life so we could have warmth, so we could celebrate this event. She thanked the water we drank for cooling our throats, and she thanked God for life, for each of our lives, for our lifetimes on this planet. Respect life, all of it. Respect and honor yourself. Respect the lives of others. Bow to the gifts of the universe, the sun, moon, earth, sea, and stars. Honor all that lives, the trees, the wildflowers, the eagles soaring high. Each has its place in this world, so do you. All of life is sacred. It's a gift. Don't spend it worrying about all that has gone wrong. You'll miss the gift of life. Practice the power of respect. Let it change your world. It was my last night in Sedona, and it was cold. A snowstorm had passed through, dumping several inches of snow. The electricity to the entire city was off. The cabin I was staying in was freezing. Great, I thought. I get to spend my last evening in Sedona fighting off hypothermia alone in the dark. I put on a heavy sweater, then wrapped myself in a blanket, trudged to a phone booth, and called a friend to complain. "Pretend you're 4 years old," he said. "Get your flashlight. Then make a tent in your bed out of all the pillows and blankets you can find. Enjoy the adventure." At first I balked, then I decided to do it. My complaints quickly turned to memories of what it was like to be a child, to play with life, to play with all the experiences life brings. Soon I fell asleep. When I awoke in the morning, the heat was back on. The lights had returned. The snow had stopped falling. Capped in a frosty layer of white, the breathtaking city of rust iron mesas looked like a wonderland. And I had learned another lesson. If you can't change a situation, you can change your perspective. I left Sedona and drove towards New Mexico. I had decided where I wanted to go next. Chimayo, a small town outside Santa Fe. I also felt drawn to visit Chaco Canyon in the northwest corner of New Mexico. But it's so far off the highway to Chimayo, I thought. I remembered the words of the Native American shaman, the one from Sedona who had led the sweat lodge. "You're on a journey, but it's not what you think," she said. "Don't be like the deer who looks straight ahead and sees only the destination. Let yourself take all the side trips you can. Travel the back roads, take your time. Talk to people and touch the trees. See all you've come here to see." Sometimes we need to make side trips into experiences, emotions, situations that take us somewhere new. Sometimes a side trip is exactly what we need. I drove down the dirt road leading to Chaco Canyon. It was bumpy and dusty, but I already felt the magic. I had heard teachings about interconnectedness before. In the remnants of the Anasazi culture, I saw that connectedness. One dwelling I visited was a structure in which over 800 rooms were built in a connected circle. Each room touched the next. The structure contained all the areas that people needed to work, live, play, and worship in. Take time to remember how connected you are. You're part of the magical dance of this universe, a dance taking place each moment in time. See how people have helped shape you. See how you've touched and shaped them. Chaco Canyon touched me deeply, profoundly. It sang to my soul. As I walked through the canyon, touching the stones of what once was a sophisticated society, a civilization over 2,000 years old, I felt reverence and humility. I could almost see the people who lived there, busy with their work, their relationships, their goals, fears, and hopes. I wondered if they knew that someday their society would be extinct, gone, vanished. I wondered if they knew how important they were, how each of us plays a tiny part in the eternal dance of the universe. I lingered at Chaco Canyon, not wanting to leave. A still voice whispered to my soul, reminding me that I could return as often as I wanted. It's healing, transformational, to visit sacred sites. But the locations we visit are merely mirrors. The magic isn't someplace else. The healing and magic are in each of us. I found my next home, a small casita at a bed and breakfast in Chimayo. Sedona had opened my heart, but now it was time to get to work. I sat in front of the computer. The clock whizzed through the hours, but I didn't whiz through my morning. I felt overwhelmed. I didn't know where to begin. Hanera, who ran the establishment, knocked on my door about noon. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Come have coffee and fruit with me." Her quiet kindness, her gentle concern, and the simple act of having coffee and fruit with a friend brought me back to balance. There's a life force, a movement, a momentum that transcends our fears and hopes, our limitations, our overwhelmed feelings, and even our confusion. There's a rhythm to life. It's easy, natural. It comes gently, like a friend knocking quietly on the door, asking if we're okay. You don't have to push through anymore. If you get stuck or tangled up, stop trying to force the solution. Back off until the answer emerges naturally from that place of peace within you. So often the simple tasks of life can seem overwhelming. But feeling overwhelmed is only a reaction to them. Surrendering to the simple truths, even the simple truth of what we're really feeling, overwhelmed, will set us free. Many things need to be done, the everyday responsibilities of our lives. The task of quietly beginning, doing the first step of the first task, can help us find our way through. There's value and honor in work, and performing the tasks that make up our daily lives. We don't have to leave ourselves behind when we do our work. What we do contains our energy, the emotional energy and attitude we put into it. Take time before you begin a task to become conscious of the energy you want to put into it, the energy you want that task to hold and reflect to yourself and others. See how much better the people around you feel when you do your tasks in love. See how much more joy and pleasure work brings to you. Make your work a labor of love. Let it return you to life's magical rhythm. Let your work, whatever your chosen field, be work that heals. Before long, I fell into a pleasant routine of working and spending a few hours a day visiting a hot springs site I found in the nearby town of Ojo Caliente. My work was going well. The hot springs at Ojo were magical. I felt like I had found a home. One day, as I lay in the wrapping room at the hot springs, I realized that healing my heart wasn't incidental to this journey. It was one of the purposes of it. As I lay there, swaddled from head to toe in a woolen blanket, I could almost feel each break line in my heart. And I could finally feel these fractures healing. Your heart may have been broken many times. Some breaks hurt more than others, but each break causes a fracture, a weakness in your ability and willingness to love, trust, and heal. Many of us have become quite skillful at denying feelings of betrayal, ignoring those situations when we not only feel betrayed, we truly have been betrayed. Life happens. Sometimes people do things that hurt us. People may have let us down, not protected us. We live in a world with people who have a lot of issues. We live in a world that moves fast and isn't always fair or kind. We may be moving so fast that we gloss over situations where we felt betrayed. Don't shut down. Don't go away. Don't tell yourself, my pain is not important. I'm stronger than that. That's just the way life is. Yes, sometimes that's just the way life is. But the smallest betrayal unexpressed, at least to ourselves, can cause damage to our hearts. We don't open our hearts by glossing over things in our head. Yes, people do have their own issues, and we do forgive. But now it may be time to learn gentleness, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness for ourselves as well. I found a miracle in a small church in New Mexico. The Sanctuario de Chimayo is famous for its healing powers and miracles. The ground under the church, some say, is particularly holy and powerful. Crutches, evidence of the healing miracles people experience there, lined the wall of the church's back room. Some years ago, a friend had sent me to this church to find my miracle. It was 3 months after my son died. I didn't know what miracle could possibly fix my situation. Now, sitting in the back of the chapel years later, I knew. I didn't have any crutches to hang on the wall, but the miracle of acceptance had helped change my life. If the situation is too difficult, the loss too painful to accept in one leap, as many losses are, take smaller steps. Accept what you're feeling today. Accept who you are today. Accept what you think today. Stay emotionally present for each step of your journey. We don't go from one place to another in a gigantic leap. We get there in increments. By going through each feeling, each belief, each experience, one step at a time. Look for your miracles, hope for the best. But when you can't change what you're going through, let the simple miracle of daily acceptance find and heal you. It's easy to keep our heart open to life's magic and all its possibilities when we have what we want. It's more of a challenge and more necessary than ever to keep our hearts open when we can't have what we want. Even on the best journey, things happen. Plans change, doors close, relationships end, blocks and frustrations appear on our path. Now is a turning point. If you choose to open your heart, even when you can't have what you want, miracles will unfold. Later, you'll see more. You'll see how it worked out, how it needed to be just so. You can't lose love. You don't need to hang on so tightly. Shed the tears that need to be shed. Feel your grief. It will help to transform you. Then gently move into today. I sat in a back row pew at the Santuario de Chimayo, amazed at the numbers that flocked there. I watched one man carry in his sick wife, a woman so ill she couldn't walk or stand by herself. They came to pray, to touch the holy ground. They came for a miracle. I was in awe of the tremendous power of faith. Many things in life test us, strain us, deplete us, and sometimes leave us without hope. In the back room of the Santuario is a ground that's said to be sacred. Visitors are invited to take some with them. I scooped up a portion, just a tiny bit, placed it in a small plastic bag, and put it in my Jeep. Faith. You don't need much. A little bit goes a long way. Sometimes in life, we may begin thinking the best part is over. Transcend your limitations. There are many places still to see, soulmates yet to meet, lessons to be learned, and joys to be experienced. Open your mind and heart to all that lies ahead. Before I left Chimayo, I stopped at the Sanctuario's gift shop and purchased some mementos to bring the energy of this holy place home with me. Items to remind me of the spiritual powers available to us in everyday life, no matter where we are. I also visited another gift shop near the church. There, I bought a string of chili peppers. The stand advertised them as holy chilies. I brought all my gifts back to the priest to bless. A wooden cross for the wall, a rosary for my daughter, one that glows in the dark so she'll know God's there, a small bag of sacred earth from the church grounds to remind me of the healing powers in this universe, a small jar of holy water to remind me that all of the journey is sacred, and a string of holy chilies to help me remember to smile. The path doesn't have to be such a grim affair. Life doesn't need to be so gloomy. Spirituality doesn't need to be so serious and somber. Work doesn't need to be that way either. There's something healing about being around people who let themselves laugh often. Humor can help us get through situations we couldn't possibly endure without it. Laughter isn't superfluous, it's essential. Sometimes it's the next lesson. During my stay in Chimayo, I found myself magnetically drawn to the Ojo Caliente hot springs. The grounds weren't fancy, soaking cost only $8. But I felt so safe, healed, spiritually connected when I was there. At times, I felt almost an electric energy coursing through my body when I roamed the grounds. On my third visit, I noticed a small marker hidden on the side of the parking lot, and I began to understand my feelings. The ancient spring was actually a Native American sacred site. The energy I felt was real. I was standing on holy ground. So much in life is holy, but often we don't make the connection. Stop. Look. Listen. Let the electric energy rise through you. Learn to feel, see, and know the beauty of the journey you're on. New Mexico lived up to its nickname. It truly was the enchanted state. But one morning I arose and knew it was time to leave. Cottonwood, Colorado became my home for a while. I stayed at a casual lodge. In my room, I found a brochure for camera film. A picture isn't taken in a moment, the pamphlet read. It's taken of a moment. It took me a long time to learn that lesson. I spent years trying to get my life together and keep it together as though it were a static, solid chunk that could be arranged in a certain place and then made to stay there. It took me a long time to learn about moments. Stop waiting for the one moment in time that will change your life. Instead, cherish all the moments. The quiet moments, the moments of boredom and solitude, the moments of sharing, the exciting moments of discovery, the agonizing moments when we feel sad, angry, and upset. Each moment in time is equally important. Each moment in time is a spiritual experience. Each one is a turning point. Learn to be fully present for yourself. Be present for your thoughts and emotions. Be fully present for others, too. Be present for their spirits, their emotions, the words they have to say to you. But especially be present for their hearts. You won't be consumed by their needs. You won't become trapped in the workings of their lives. If you're present for yourself, you'll know how much presence to give to others. The woman at the Colorado Lodge was describing her reaction to an area she had visited. A place poisoned by toxic chemicals, a piece of earth maimed and harmed by humankind. It's not that I didn't feel connected there, she said thoughtfully. I felt connected, but feeling connected meant feeling connected to pain. The woman was describing more than a piece of land. She was describing a place many of us visit at times on our journey. We feel connected, but we're connecting to pain and sadness. Feel what's there, even if it hurts for a bit. The price of being connected may mean that we occasionally feel pain, but the reward for staying connected will be consciousness, guided action, and an open heart. I left Cottonwood and headed toward Colorado's Royal Gorge Bridge, the world's highest suspension bridge. Spanning a section of the Grand Canyon of the Arkansas River, the bridge is constructed of small wooden slats. You can drive across, or you can walk it, peering down through the slats to see the river 1,050 feet below. When I reached the bridge, I decided to walk across it. I parked the Jeep, walked to the edge of the bridge, then turned around and walked away. I was too afraid to walk across. So I returned to the Jeep and drove to the bridge, then stopped short again. I was still afraid. I backed up to the toll booth and hailed the man working inside. "Will I be fine?" I asked. He looked at me strangely. "Will I be fine?" I asked again. He finally got it. "You'll be fine," he said with a smile. I drove back to the bridge. Inch by inch, I drove the car across the wooden slats. I was afraid to look to the right or left, afraid to look down, afraid to look, afraid not to look. I never knew how much fear was in me until I drove across that bridge. Sometimes we're so afraid we don't know how afraid we are. Or we worry that the worst that could possibly happen probably will. We begin to believe that it is most likely waiting at our doorstep, ready to pounce on us and steal our joy, our peace, our place and rhythm in the universe. Don't you see? Your fear has already done that. Face your fears. Acknowledge them. Write them out. Feel them. Although some of our fears may be grounded in reality, facing them won't make us more afraid. Sometimes real power comes from being vulnerable enough to say, yes, I am afraid. Gently face your fears, one at a time as they arise. Like the man said, you'll be fine. By the time I left Colorado, I had many ideas about the places I wanted to visit on my journey, and enough confidence and faith to trust these glimpses. I wasn't so afraid of making a mistake and doing this trip perfectly. That gave me tremendous freedom and more power to hear my inner voice. I left and headed toward the magnificent canyons of southern Utah. But by the time I got to the landmark that denoted where the 4 states of Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah touched, someone, was pulling on me. My daughter, Nicole. She was in college in Arizona. When she finished final exams, she planned to head back to Minnesota, where we had lived before, to spend the summer there. We had talked about meeting somewhere before she left for Minnesota, but now it didn't look like that would work out. It might be months before we saw each other again. From where I was in Colorado, she was a hard day's drive away. Besides, I had already been through Arizona, and it would take another day to get back to where I was now. I continued traveling toward the Utah canyons. The pull from Nicole continued too. I thought I was clear on where I was going, but now I didn't know what to do. A moment later, I knew. I turned the car around and headed toward my daughter. When I arrived at her dorm about 10 that night, I called her room. She asked where I was now on my journey. I told her I was downstairs in the lobby of her dorm. She flew down the steps, we hugged and kissed, and we spent the next 3 days together at a nearby hotel. It was one of the nicest times we'd had together in years. When it came time to leave, Nicole packed her car and headed for Minnesota. I headed back toward Utah. I felt renewed and refreshed. I hadn't lost any time. I had gained a special gift. We search for sacred spaces, spiritual experiences, and truths. But the holiest places are often found when we spend time with people we love. As I drove into Utah, past Zion National Park, I began to feel the oddest sensation emanating from the earth, emanating from me. It was soft and lovely. All evening deer had been crossing my path, coming to me from out of the woods. What did they mean? I flashed on the medicine cards. In the medicine cards, deer are the symbol for gentleness and love. The feeling, the message coming through from the universe became clear. Somewhere along the path, with all life's trials, moving about, busyness, and experiences, I had let gentleness slip away. Now it was time to remember its power. Remember to be gentle with yourself and others. Instead of depriving yourself when you already feel badly enough, do something nice for yourself. Give others kind words of love and encouragement. Tell yourself comforting, encouraging things too. Many of us aren't as sure of ourselves as we'd sometimes like others to think. We need guidance, faith, and hope. I've learned it's easy to be loving, one man said. What takes work is to be kind. It was a quiet morning. I was holed up in a hotel room at the mouth of Bryce Canyon, working on my writing, but I needed a little inspiration. I drove into Bryce Canyon Park. An hour later, when I felt calmer and more energized, I got back in the car and headed for the park exit. Several cars were jammed up, blocking the road. I wondered if there had been an accident. Then I saw why the others had stopped. A doe was standing on the side of the road, gently nuzzling her fawn. She stood by her baby's side, protecting and nurturing it. Nurture others. Nurture and love yourself. The whole universe will rally round and help. Others will applaud your efforts and learn from them, the way the passers-by stop to gaze on the doe and her fawn. Take better care of yourself than you ever have before. Take time throughout each day to tend to your needs, just as you would tend to someone you loved deeply and dearly. Taking care of yourself is a simple act with profound consequences. The better you care for yourself, the more you'll align with universal love. Do visit Bryce Canyon, a man in Colorado had advised me. But do it later, after you've driven through the other parts of Utah. It's like the icing on the cake. We can gather so much guilt as we go through life. We may blame ourselves for the experiences we've had and how we've handled them. We may build up resentments against others, too. Forgive those you need to, but don't forget to forgive yourself, too. I never knew how much I blamed and hated myself. I never knew how much shame and self-contempt I picked up from situations I'd been through until I really forgave myself and felt how that feels, one woman said to me. Forgiveness is a simple word, but a difficult, complicated process. To forgive too soon, before we felt all we needed to feel along the way, is incomplete. Forgiveness based on denial won't work. And not to forgive, after we've felt our emotions, our anger, rage, pain, and betrayal, will harden our hearts and keep us closed to life's magic. Forgiveness is like the icing on the cake. It's often the last thing we need to do. Transcend your judgments of yourself and others. Learn to look at yourself in love, who you are, where you've been. Learn to look at others with love, too. Set yourself and others free. When there is truth and acceptance, without fear of judgment, there is love. Create your own world of love. As I left Bryce Canyon and headed towards Idaho, I realized that an important part of this journey has been about discovering power. We talk a lot about power. We learn about the powers we don't have, the power to control others, sometimes ourselves, and fate. We see that many forms of power are illusions. Money goes just so far, prestige is fleeting. Control is only momentary. We turn our back and the situation reverts. We trudge the road searching for power and learning about our own. Somewhere on the journey, we begin to see the truth. It awakens quietly within us, shaking our soul, transforming our vision, teaching us what we knew all along. The power that lasts, the power that stays, is the power of the heart. Stillness, faith, gentleness, kindness, compassion, joy, forgiveness, comfort, vulnerability, honesty, courage, love. Now we're talking power. There's a town in Idaho, Lava Hot Springs, that overflows with quiet, inexpensive hostels offering hot mineral water soaks to all who pass through. Folklore has it that in days long past, warring tribes would put aside their differences when they came here to soak in the waters. This sacred ground was neutral territory. Although most of us aren't at war with another tribe or even another person, many of us have been at war with ourselves. I've spent years judging myself and my experiences. As I've opened up to my emotions, I've spent time and energy judging those too. Often I expend as much energy judging the experience or emotion as I do living through and learning from it. I've run in terror from grief. I have attacked myself repeatedly for experiencing anger. I've put antagonistic labels on guilt and fear. Now I'm learning the power of neutrality. It speeds the time it takes me to learn my lessons. If what I'm going through isn't wrong, then I'm free to have the experience and embrace its lessons. Discover the power of neutral territory. It's sacred ground that can help you heal. I sat on the ground on a dirt road that wandered off a main highway in Idaho. I leaned against a tree and watched a mother eagle and her babies in a nest overhead. She fussed as she protected them, watching me closely. She responded with her alarm call to any noise she heard. She was very protective now. But someday it would be time to push those babies out of the nest. It would be time to teach them to fly. Many of us have been pushed out of the nest. Something unexpected happened and our world changed. We may have fought valiantly to get back in the nest, to return to the safety of life as we knew it. But life had pushed us out. We had no choice but to flap our wings and learn to fly the best we could. See how magical this time has been. See how much you've learned. With all your fears and resistance, it has still been a grand and powerful time. You flailed around a bit, wondering who to trust. You tried to trust others, then found that didn't work. Finally, you understood. The very lesson you were learning was that of trusting yourself. When life pokes and prods you, it's not punishment or abuse. You're being pushed out of the nest. Spread your wings and take flight. See how well you can fly.